Hi beautiful Super Soul Sisters, back again today, and we're going to talk about busy bee shoes, which kind of flows on from the soccer mum shoes. The busy bee shoes are different to the soccer mum shoes. The soccer mum shoes are really where they are mainly focused around the family. Like, there's a heavy emphasis on, family, which is great. You want to be a great mum, don't get me wrong, absolutely love it, but just not where it's at cost to self, and also where you're going to be severely impacted or struggle when it comes to a time where the children leave, and you suffer from the empty nest. So that's the soccer mum shoes. But the busy bee shoes, something completely different. Well, not completely different, it's slightly different in the fact that you may be a soccer mum, but you're also trying to do all these other things. So remember, I was making mention to it yesterday that unfortunately in our lives we have a lot on our plates, way more than we probably ever did before. But again, the difference is the need to be seen to be busy, or actually being busy because of something that's underlying. So it becomes a form of distraction, and it's where and look, I was one of these people. So I used to have very big busy bee shoes on, in my extreme A-type personality, ego-driven personality of what I would like to think of days gone past, but I'm sure you don't change your personality completely. I still have that driver element, but it's just not with the ego attached to it. But I did have that. I used to race around. I had my own studio. It was a web studio, and I was always like back-to-back appointments. I was very driven, which is it can be part of the busy bee thing, but I was a workaholic, still am, to be honest, to some degree, but I'm nowhere near as bad as what I used to be. And I was like bouncing from appointment to appointment to appointment, where other people would be doing, say, 4 appointments, I'd be doing 8, and then I have to tell you what was interesting is that I used to have a lot of coffee. I don't drink coffee anymore. I was so wired, I could never sleep at night because I'd have like 8 coffees in a day. Can you imagine? And it's like all through the day. I didn't cut off at lunchtime like most folks do these days. And away I would go. And I tell you what, like I was waking up in the middle of the night and at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was just absolutely wired. But the point is that if I wasn't at a meeting, I was networking. Quite often, if I wasn't at a networking events, I was the committee leader. So I was like what's Queenstown Businesswomen's Network. Literally as soon as I arrived, I got voted straight onto the committee. The whole group was going to disband if someone didn't take charge. So I ended up becoming the head of that, the chair lady for that for years. Now, I'm not saying that to brag or anything, but it was just like that was how that totally suited me. I was like, yeah, great, I'm going to meet all these amazing women, and I did. And I tell you, I was so grateful for it because it really helped me in my transition getting here into Queenstown. But my whole thing was that I was out and about hitting that tarmac, like go, and it was to the point where I burnt out. Like eventually, you can't do that on a consistent basis, can you? Like running, my work day would start at 4 o'clock because I would see everybody, all my clients during the day. I had a wonderful lady project manager, general kind of manager kind of type person who was running the studio for me and overseeing the staff. I was seeing all the clients. I was networking in the evenings. My poor husband, honestly, I don't know, thinking about it, he hardly got to see me. Like I was always out at something, and it was all business stuff, so it wasn't stuff that really floated his boat. And then if not, I was actually running the committees. And it got to a point where, absolutely on my knees. My work day would start at 4. Any office work I would do between 4 and like 10 o'clock at night. And then we would eat at 10 and then I'd go to bed. That's just nuts, isn't it? You cannot do that I did do it for years. It was over 7 years that I did that. And it's just like, eventually your body is not built to sustain that kind of lifestyle, is it? I mean, it's just not. Like, there was hardly any rest time in there, and if I was resting, I was trying to use it as a networking time. So I'd have lunches with my friends, but it was like, you know, we were still all business women. There was always talk about business. That was our topic of conversation. And then I had a family. So now I was doing like up to 60-hour weeks, no kidding, with 2 sick children under the age of 3. And both of them had allergies, which we didn't know about at the time. And they didn't sleep through the night. So I'm not joking. I did not sleep for 2 years solid, not one wink. I did sleep, but for 2 hours. I didn't sleep for longer than 2 hours. And you got to ask yourself, like, it got to a point where it was just like, then my health took a hit, and it was like, right, I've just gone international with my second business, tech business, and it was like, you know, all these, you know, customer care units in different places, different countries, and it just got too much. And honestly, I mean, it got to a point where it was like, it's going to be health and probably mental health as well, or it's going to be about the career. And in the end, I was like, do you know what? It's more important, my kids. So that's what I landed. That's what happened for me. But I just don't want to have that happen for you. So I'm not saying that everybody's going to be a busy bee out there, but be aware of the signs, because it's actually socially rewarded. Being a workaholic is a socially rewarded thing. You know, it's like the harder you work, the better the pay. I remember this in London. You know, you didn't get to management unless you did 14-hour days, you know, 16-hour days. That was just the norm. You know, you just didn't make it to management, you know. So if you wanted to achieve, if you wanted to get a better pay, you know, you had to put in extra, way more than what everybody else was. And, you know, that has a leaning towards an A-type personality to do that. So, you know, we now, I think I mentioned in the previous video, like, in the old days, you just did one job. And what a lot of successful, really highly successful people have actually now said is that this multitasking is actually a deficit, not a benefit. And I've always been like into multitasking, but they were saying, like, if you think about it, you can only really think about one thing at a time. So like, I think they were doing this in the case of like driving, and they were giving the guy some maths formulas that he had to actually think about to actually change, and he couldn't drive safely at the same time because he was actually trying to think and solve something else while he was actually trying to drive, and the combination just didn't work. Now it's different if you're, you know, walking and listening to podcasts like that. I can understand, you know, of course you can do that, but you know, this whole thing around mindfulness is being able to declutter your mind, you know, get the junk out, not just even focusing on one thing, not focusing on anything at all, because we've put ourselves into so much overwhelm now, haven't we? And this is the thing, it's like, if I'm busy, why are you distracting yourself so much that you have to do that? You've got to ask yourself right now, are you that person? You know, and you can be honest with yourself, because like, it's just you and me. You're not, you know, you're not talking to anybody else. You know, just put your hand up and say, you know what, Vix, you're right. You're absolutely right. I am that lady. Why am I that way? And one of the things that you might find is that now, once you've joined the Facebook group, I am just finishing up on writing a little e-guide called Attachment Styles, and this has a lot to do with your parenting style of your parents with you when you were a kid, okay, or your primary caregivers, okay. And one of the attachment styles is where there's a need for you, it's effectively your parents, or one of your parents or one of your primary caregivers would only give you the recognition that you needed when you achieved something quite often, or only showed up on key events. And as a result, you get trained into, oh, well, I have to achieve in order to get XYZ. recognition, significance, and then we've got the societal component as well of rewarding people who do that as well. So it's not a bad thing, it's just a thing to be aware of and having it where it's not too much. So I would be going on a scale of 1 to 10. Just check now with me, how busy bee are you? Like I know this one lady who's into everything. She is a busy soccer mum, big time, but if she's not comfortable in it. I don't think she's comfortable in her own space, because as soon as she has a quiet moment, she fills it with something else. So she's in committees, she's on the Parents Teachers Association, she'd be on the board if she I think if there was a space when it comes up next, she's the type of person who would do that. She does search and rescue stuff. She's if she's not doing that, then she's walking the dog. And if she's not doing that, she's literally going up mountains. She doesn't do just flat stuff. It's like she's a mountain goat. She goes straight up. The bigger the challenge, the better, and she'd probably run up there if she had half the chance as well. So my whole thing is where's her time for her quiet time, for her quiet space? And this is the thing. I remember again, I can't remember who the guru was that talked about this, some Asian, I don't know, master probably, that I happened to come across, and he was talking about, if your mind is so busy, if you think of it like a tornado, like this, going around like this, and the universe dropped in the Eiffel Tower, which is something that people from all over the world come to see. Now, that guy had to have had space in his mind to have actually come up with that concept of the whole Eiffel Tower. And it is quite amazing, like a piece of architecture to handle the wind and everything that goes with it. Literally people from all over the world go there. There's no way that he would have been able to have thought about that Eiffel Tower if he was caught up in the tornado. You need to be in the eye of the storm. So you have to, if you're one of these busy bee mums, I'd be going, why? What's the driver? Where are you on that scale of 1 to 10? 10 being I'm a super busy bee. I was like 9 or 10, definitely, no question. And it's just like, how could you maybe just do one thing that's just for you? So it could be, I'm just actually going to do a guided meditation, because you might find that it'll be too hard for you to go straight to mindful quietness where you think about nothing. You might do a 10-minute guided meditation and then stretch it to 15. And then when you start feeling the calmness, go into the mindful base. So it might be that, or it might be that you do like yin yoga, which is the slow type of yoga, not the fast type of yoga. So not that you really have a fast type of yoga, but the yin yoga is where you hold the poses for a lot longer. Hatha yoga is another one, but that again you see might appeal more to that type, because you're really sweating and you're doing these poses, so there might be a challenge in that. Do replace your minerals if you do hatha, because you're sweating a lot. So, vitamins and minerals and to be replaced. Otherwise, you're sweating it all out and you're not replacing it. But just start thinking like, am I that busy bee? Do you have a pair of busy bee shoes? If you do, say so, pop it in there and go, do you know what I do? I've got a busy bee pair of shoes. And even your rating out of 10, maybe you can tell us. So anyway, I hope you found that useful. I got to tell you, it was fantastic. I don't put on my busy bee shoes unless I have to. I am busy, but I'm not driven by ego anymore, or I'd like to think that I'm not. Whereas before it was all about, status and, connections and, getting the business to a new level and all that sort of thing. For me, it's a whole different ball game now. I'm busy, But I try, and I'm not on top of it, if I'm honest. There are times where I'm like, it's too busy, and then I have to rain check, and I have to rein myself back in and go, okay, you've got your busy bee shoes back on again. Let's just maybe take those little babies off and just see if we can just calm things down a little bit, and let's make space for me. And then think about what you're prepared to do to actually do it. Now, if you think you've got an attachment styles thing going on there, look out for that document. When you're in Facebook, you can get it for free. Like, I'll just direct message me, and I'll get that sent to you. Okay, all right, thank you so much. Namaste. I hope you found that useful. All right, thank you everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye.